So Paralydium, a band I've been with for a few months. I got into the band when all they had was just an EP of 3 tracks. I got into them in 2019. I listened to the EP, and usually my thoughts on an EP is it doesn't make a band, it doesn't mean anything. The effort and the thing to listen to is an actual album. An EP is just too short. If I want to listen to something, I want to have something that takes a fair bit of time, something really deep with a lot to offer, which you can do with more tracks than just trying to convey with just 3 tracks. But this was all there was of the band. It's all I had to go on. So I heard a song, thought, this is pretty incredible. I heard all 3 tracks, and at the end of it I thought, this is amazing. This band has achieved more with this first EP than bands who have been at it for years and has made a fair few dozen albums. This is pretty spectacular, and I gave it maybe a 9.5, if not 10 out of 10 score. It was damn near perfection. It had soaring leads when the song started. It had a huge emphasis on beautiful melodies. It had great showmanship of keys where you could actually hear them and distinguish them apart, away from separation from the guitars and things. But then, yeah, you got the soaring leads, great leads and intros and other aspects. The keys distinguished themselves away from the guitar. They weren't just disappeared in the mix. The voice was incredible. There was great melody throughout, yet some still decent heaviness to it. The songs were very progressive. They constantly kind of adapted and changed. It had great groove elements to some of the songs. And solo-wise, you had keys and drums doing the solos, and it was fantastic. Now, this EP came out in 2015, and I heard it in 2019, and there was no talk of an album. They said they were doing one, but other than that, there's been no news. So this has been about 4 years trying to make this bloody thing. And they have got the album. They released the first single last month, if not 2 months ago, I think, which was Finding the Paragon. So this was the album. This is 4 years in the making, and 4 years after these events. What have they learned? How have they changed? Going in to do an album with an actual record label and all the funding, what are we going to see? And what I got was kind of disappointing from what you got from the EP. There was no real soaring leads. There was not a huge amount of melodic nature to the song. It was mostly just heavy with a pretty kind of guttural voice, although the vocals were still good. The chorus was had more emphasis on melody, which was quite nice. There was a lot of solos, which was about 5 solos, 3 from the guitar, 1 from drum, 1 from bass, and 3 or 2 kind of key solos. So a shit ton of solos, but then even still I had a problem because they would constantly shift between each other. So the drummer would only have a few seconds and then it would shift into something else. So that means that not one solo had any time to breathe or really become something or really show something. It was just like a phrase, a small scale of something, a lick basically, and that was it. It's not this long thought out, well written solo that takes you through melodies and technical aspects and something beautiful or intense or something dark, and there was nothing. It's so short, it doesn't convey any sort of emotion or any real diversity. It's just there's a drum beat which is done in a lead aspect, and here's a guitar lick which is done in a lead aspect but does not really breathe at all. So all 5 solos technically flopped and failed. Now, it still meant that the songs had solos and some creativity to them, and showed that all members have a fair amount of talent. But compared to the EP that had the solos breathe and show what they're capable of, as well as soaring introductions instead of just a typical, this is the intro and it's heavy and we're doing basically power chords or something. It was kind of lacking, and the song didn't really change. It was the typical kind of song. The only change was basically the bridge section and then, your solos. Other than that, the song flowed constantly, never really changing. So this is the second track within the sphere that we're talking about. Now, this is the second track on the album, but technically the first track, because the first track of the album is indeed an intro track. So this is the first actual track, the first introduction to the album. So this is the first thing people are going to hear of the band. So what you're going to want to convey, you really want to show them what the album's about. Really show the listener that, yes, we want you to stay for the rest of the tracks. The other, how many tracks that are yet to come. And really engage. You're not like, well, that was kind of boring, and then kind of lose your interest and kind of half-ass listen through the rest. This has to catch you. So how is it? It is indeed better than Finding the Paragon. The solos are better. The melodies are better. The vocals I also technically find to be better. But compared to the EP, it still falls short. Now the song just kind of starts abruptly and immediately. Which is a shame, because it would be nice to kind of have the song kind of grow into itself to build the anticipation. Also, it being the first track, it would be nice for it not to just immediately start, but I'm sure the intro will play somewhat into building this up. So, it starts abruptly, and what do you get? Well, the problem, as I said, the EP had soaring leads, and then had a multitude of different intros. So it wasn't just, oh, this is what the intro is, and this is the phase for it. The certain phrase, it's a multitude of different things. So it will be one thing, then another thing, then it will go quiet, and then it will build up the sound and then become something else, then it will go to something else, and then it gets into the song. So you've got a multitude of this musical creativity and variation, showing all sorts of different patterns and leads and beauty. As for this, it starts, it's heavy kind of power chord stuff, and then the singer comes in, which compared to what I explained with the EP of the multitude of variation of an intro with soaring leads, swooping leads, melodies, and all sorts of stuff. Just, it's heavy chords. That is it. It would be hard to kind of argue how that is better than something that is that with a multitude of other things and actual good showmanship musically from, the soaring kind of leads that they portrayed in the EP. So, yeah, it does kind of start abysmal compared to the EP, but when it comes to the verse of Finding the Paragon, this vocalist didn't have melody to it. It had a bit more of that kind of grit to his voice. It still sounded nice, but it was a little gritty, and that is not what I see as Paralydium. I don't think that is really their sort of thing. I see them as more melody-based, and a lot more emphasis on, just melody and soaring leads. That is how I see Paralydium. So that kind of heavy riff with the kind of more gritty vocals was a bit of a disappointment. Here, his voice is clean, but isn't, melodic, because the, instruments, it's still quite heavy, so his voice is basically just clean, but not doing any kind of soaring, holding on to certain notes and pitches. It's just kind of there, and all you have to rely on then is just the fact that the guy has a pleasant and good voice. So that kind of goes until you get to the pre-chorus, where the band just kind of open up. So it's not really doing anything. It's basically just they do a chord and just have it ring out. But the fact that it just kind of opens up and just breathes, even though there's not much going on, it's better, because at least things are open and just softer, and then the voice can actually just hold on to a note a bit more. And I just prefer it because the band just works better when it's in a melody-focused area as opposed to heavy. And then it goes into the chorus, which is a lot better than Finding the Paragon. I think the chorus of this one is just a lot more catchy. The melody is just a lot more better. And then near the end of the chorus, it does shift around a little bit, not so much. Then it goes back into kind of heavy riffs. Technically just the same verse yet again. You get a lead from the keys, which is nice. I wouldn't call it an actual solo. It's basically just a lead kind of interlude sort of thing, which is quite nice. Then you get, your pre-chorus, your chorus again. And then when you get to the bridge section, I don't think there is any vocal bridge part. I think it is purely solo based. And the solo this time round is much, much improved over Finding the Paragon. It is so superior to that song for solos. So you start off with the keyboard solo, and it's got some decent length to it. Thank fuck. So that is a good thing, that it has some good length to it. It does have a bit of emphasis on melody. It's not, a slow melodic. It just has nice melody to it, with some nice frills here and there. And then you go on to the guitar portion. Now, the guitar portion is even longer than what the keys gave, and it does go on for a hefty amount of time. Again, with a focus on doing something melody, not just this is aggressive or this is just pure shred or something just slow and melodic. No, it has its flourishes, its holds and its soars and its melody and nice tone, and just the fact that it has great length to it. So each aspect of the solo has its time to breathe, and you can take it in instead of it just coming and going and disappearing. It finishes on the keys coming back again to finish up with the same kind of thing in mind. Keep the emphasis on doing something that sounds nice, keep that melody to it, and then do your flourishes here and there, but keep it sounding really nice and pleasant. And then show what the band is capable of and how technical they can be. And the solo is definitely over a minute long, so it is a hefty weight of a solo. So when the key solo finishes, it goes back to the vocalist, which is basically the chorus, but the band disappears, so it's just kind of left with the voice, which is a typical kind of thing when a solo finishes and it goes into the chorus. It kind of disappears, and then the vocalist comes and the band comes in. So you kind of know when the band's going to come in. It's just dun 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 dun, and then you know exactly when the band's going to come in. It is so predictable because it's a trick that bands do all the fucking time. So you know exactly when it's going to come in, basically. So that's kind of predictable. It is nice that it does kind of do something to change it. Just the fact that it's just very open and melodic, and you hear the voice in a very clean and open area. Just isolate the voice. So I do kind of appreciate it, even though it is incredibly predictable and it is only there for 3-4 seconds. And then the chorus goes on, and as I say, the chorus is very, very nice. I do like the chorus. It's catchy, it's melodic, not melodic, but it has a good melody to it. And then this latter portion of it works fairly well. And then the song kind of just ends how it began, just, doing chords and not really much to it. So, technically, this song is indeed better than Finding the Paragon. It has better solos, a lot longer solos. It has a better chorus. It has probably a better pre-chorus. The verse, I also think, is better, even though it is quite bleak and a little bland. There's nothing really unique or special about the verse. It's not like, oh, you should really hear this verse. It's got this to it. It's just a verse for the sake of a verse. There is nothing that intriguing about it. As far as the intro goes, I'm not entirely sure which one you would argue is better, because again, it is very bleak. Any kind of metal act has similar kind of intros to it. It's nothing special. It's not like, oh, that is a beautiful lead melody or anything, or something really technical or that advanced. It's just chords, not much else to that. So yeah, overall, the song is an improvement over the last one we had. And then little aspects, it is basically just on par with the other song. As I say, the intro and, well, basically the intro, technically, the rest of the song is an improvement, besides the intro and outro both basically just being on par with each other, because both of them are just bland and nothing special. I prefer the verse. It's not that much better and still nothing to be that interested in. It's just I prefer it. The pre-chorus is better with a good melody to it. Chorus, a lot better. It's a lot more memorable. It's got a nicer melody to it, with the voice and the band. And the solo, much improved, because it actually really shows what they are capable of. Unlike the other song where they were just rushing through what they were doing, so you never had any time to really just digest anything they were doing or really know what they were going for. This, you really can just listen to the solo, see where it's going to go, what they're doing, and they take their time with it, and that is a lot better. And then, as I say, the final portion of the chorus, the band do cut out, so you get that like 3-4 seconds of the singer just isolated with his voice, which, shows him in a new depth. It's new. It's just, it is only 3 to 4 seconds, and it is incredibly predictable and what many other bands have done before. But it's still technically something different, even though it is just a measly 3-4 seconds. And that is it. Again, compared to the EP, them songs really stand on their own compared to these two. They are still way above, which is a shame. And even when I look into the album itself for the length, it is basically 44-45 minutes. That is bloody short for a progressive metal band. That is pathetic. And then you've got an intro track, which has length to it. And then in the middle of the album, there is another track, which is just instruments and not an actual song. So when you take them 2 times out, you're only looking at about 40 minutes of an album, which is pathetic. That is absolutely pathetic. And they've had 4 to 5 years to make this. I don't really see it as an excuse. There is no excuse for it being that short and only being able to deliver that amount. That is pretty pathetic, especially when the EP is 3 tracks that are about 25 minutes or something. And they're a damn sight better than this. Yet you've had so many years to work on these songs. It's just, yeah, I like this track and I do like the other one. Don't get me wrong, because it sounds like I'm now really shitting on these songs. They're good. It's just compared to that EP and the amount of time and just the length of this, it's not good. I'm not going to give them benefit of the doubt or blow, smoke up their arse or anything. The truth of the matter is, yeah, these songs are okay, but compared to your EP, that is far superior. Also, the length of this album is pathetic, and then the fact that there is 2 tracks which are just instrumental bollocks to pad the album, which is barely long in the first place, only gets you to 40 minutes, is so pathetic. And that leaves you with about 7-8 tracks, and that is it. There's barely any tracks. It is just absolutely abysmal. It's absolutely terrible. But if you want to know the rating I give this song in particular, I'd give it an 8. It's a great track. No real problem. Like, as I say, the verse, there's nothing wrong with it. There's just nothing special about it. The chorus is quite special. I do like the melody to that. The solos, very, very good. I really, really like the solos of this, and they give good length. And then it's 2 instruments, beat, keys, and guitar, which is nice, because then I get 2 variations of instrumentation that I can appreciate the talent of these 2 instruments. Intro, hit and miss. Like, it's bland. It does what the intro is supposed to do, which is basically just get it to the verse. And then the outro, nothing special. It's just getting the track to end. Other than that, it's not doing anything. The intro is there just to get you to the verse, and the outro is just to get you to the end. It's not really trying to achieve anything else, which is pathetic. As I say, verse, it's fine. There's nothing bad about it. There's just nothing special about it. Pre-chorus, quite nice. The chorus, I really like the chorus. Solo, amazing. Vocalist, pretty damn good. Other than that, not much else. So 8, great. Nothing really special. It's not going above that 8 of. It's just a solid, really good track. Which, if it was something really special, it would be the 8.5 upwards. This is just 8. Solid track. Can listen to it whenever I can. Won't disappoint me. It's just something that just really doesn't stand out as special. So that is it until they release another song, which the album's being postponed due to circumstances. So we probably will see something else from the band. And until then, obviously I will be doing something else. I'm not just covering Paralydium. But until then, that'll be it for this band. So, until the next video, I'll see you guys later. Bye.